Hello again. Welcome to the People's Channel, which is dedicated to bringing you the truth in plain language. What is today's subject? What else? The referendum. Literally a historic decision of mammoth proportions, the single most important decision for the future of this country, and therefore the kind of lives we wish to give our children, grandchildren, and future generations. This is a very stark choice. A dictatorship led by Germany as the accepted leader of the European Union, or a democracy based on the parliamentary systems we have known and used for hundreds of years. We cannot have both. The choice to vote for your parliament or no choice to vote at all. The chance to change your parliament or no chance to change it at all. A lot has been said about risk by the scaremongering tactics of the Remain campaign regarding jobs, trade, security and safety. Let me approach it in a slightly different way and give you some cast iron guarantees of what will happen if you vote to remain. Guarantee 1. Financial meltdown and the confiscation of bank savings, the UK-EU bank depositor bail-in scheme. If another crisis gets underway, do you think that the money you have earned, paid tax on and put in the bank for a rainy day or for an unexpected bill is safe? Because if you do, you're wrong. Automated grand theft on an unprecedented scale has been agreed with unelected EU officials, the Bank of England and US authorities. The new EU system will take effect from January 2016. But emergency resolutions can be brought forward in the event of banks failing in the interim period. The European Parliament confirmed in a statement that depositors with more than €100,000, that's £84,000, would be bailed in. Since most poor and middle class people have the major portion of their assets in checking and savings accounts, while rich people have the major portion in real estate, stocks and bonds, who do you think will be most affected by bail-ins? Bail-in means that the EU has the right to access and take money from your bank account at any time they wish, if a country or bank needs a bailout or has gone bust. There is nothing you or our government can do to change this law. It has been made by the European Union. Guarantee 2. The budget forecast. Britain's contribution to the European Union budget is set to be £3.1 billion higher over the next 5 years than was forecast before the election. Surprise, surprise. The Office for Budget Responsibility said it expects Britain's contributions to Brussels to jump by £1.3 billion next year alone. Note, please, during the last Parliament we saved £36 billion from domestic austerity cuts imposed by the European Union, but we paid £85 billion to the European Union, therefore wiping out our savings by nearly 3 times over. What has all the misery been for? What is all the misery going to achieve in the future for the quality of people's lives? George Osborne is happily continuing to make people suffer in the name of EU-imposed austerity. Guarantee 3. In the 2015 budget, the Office for Budget Responsibility forecasts that the amount the UK will pay to the EU in VAT will increase by 32% in the next 6 years, so that by the time we get to 2020, we'll be paying £2.9 billion in VAT to the EU. This is over and above our membership fees. Guarantee 4. The EU to control all press and journalists with an EU press card. The accreditation and issuing of the EU PCs will be controlled by the unelected European Commission, EC. If the journalist does not report the activities of the EU in a manner acceptable to the EC, then the EC will have the legal right to confiscate their EU PC. The journalist will not then be able to work and report within the EU. Pure censorship. Guarantee 5. You will be voting for TTIP, the Transatlantic Trade Investment Agreement. TTIP deal poses real and serious threat to the NHS, says leading QC. Unite's Assistant General Gail Cartmail, said that the UK government has no right to allow EU bureaucrats to negotiate away our ability to control the future of our NHS. David Cameron has the power to exclude the NHS from the trade deal. He must act and prevent the irreversible sale of our NHS. Has David Cameron acted? Quite the reverse. He has refused to take the NHS out of this agreement, although he was given the choice. Guarantee 6. A new treaty, a fundamental law of the European Union. Why Europe needs a new constitutional treaty. A new treaty is needed to mark the important fresh stage in Europe integration, in which the Eurozone is transformed into a fiscal union run by a federal economic government. The financial and economic crisis has exposed many shortcomings in the way the European Union is run. The fundamental law replaces all current EU treaties. The fundamental law and the law adopted by the Union on the basis of fundamental law have primacy over the law of its states. In other words, they overrule anything that our Parliament might come up with. And also, membership of the Euro is taken as given once you sign this treaty. This report was dated 2013 and since the spring of 2015 has been worked on and come out the other end as what you will hear is called the Five Presidents Treaty. I'll be doing another video covering this in more detail about what this treaty contains, which is extremely frightening. When finally presented out into the open, it states that it must be ratified by all 28 members. But this poses a question. Listen carefully. If we are to have a referendum on whether to remain in the EU, and Mr Cameron has unequivocally stated there will be no second referendum, does this mean that a vote to remain now will be taken to mean that we automatically agree that our leaders ratify, which means agree and sign, this new treaty without even asking us? We haven't heard about this. Why is no one mentioning it? We know that if we vote to remain, the EU will take this to mean that we agree to stay in and adopt any measures they choose to impose. So then logically a vote to remain means that we are also agreeing to this new horrendous treaty. Remember, this new treaty is a guarantee. It's already been written and is just waiting for the right time to put it forward. So let's rerun that question being asked by the Remainers. What is the risk of leaving? I say, what are the surefire guarantees of remaining? The ones I've shown you are merely a few. There are many, many more, but they are cast iron guarantees of what the future holds for this country and future generations with a vote to remain. I would call these not only huge risks, but incredibly dangerous for the prosperity and freedom of this country. Mr Cameron, when asked by Andrew Marr about the issue and meaning of sovereignty, blithely whitewashed it by saying, it's a way of getting things done. Google the meaning of the word sovereignty and this is what you will find. Supreme power or authority, the sovereignty of Parliament, the authority of a state to govern itself or another state. National sovereignty is a self-governing state. It's rather more than that, isn't it, Mr Cameron? It is a self-governing state, nation, not one federal government presiding over all 28 member states. Mr Cameron has already proved himself to be a very prolific liar, blatant lies, half-truths and lies by omission. Be in absolutely no doubt, a vote to remain guarantees everything I have put in this video, including giving your country away lock, stock and barrel to be governed in all aspects by a federal government called the European Union. The only way to stop this is a vote for a complete Brexit. Leave, 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 leave.